Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Inside the GM Studio, a podcast all about the tabletop RPG hobby. I'm your host, Matt.
And I am David.
And we're back from the very small hiatus, trying to put out what we could while David was gone in some European country for a while.
Italy. It was in Italy.
All right.
Yes.
Good times. Italy's good times. But in the meantime, since you've been gone, I played. So I don't. Oh shit! That's the one thing I didn't remember. I wrote down some notes and I have no idea where I put them. So Thursday, my Thursday game. You know, we haven't been playing because Dave's been out of the country. My Thursday game, we've been doing one shots because Dan, the GM for that one, has also been off on vacation. I think he is out of the country as well. All of you fucking game masters taking your time off all at the same time. So I've been running. So I've been running one shots for everyone, and we did another Daggerheart one shot, and then this last Thursday, I wanted to try a Draw Steel one shot. Oh my god, it was ooh boy. Hey kids out there, do you remember and miss horribly Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition? If you do, play Draw Steel. It's 4th edition is what it is. It's a 2d10 system where you never miss in combat. You just roll your damages. And also, I have never seen so many metacurrencies in a game like this ever. So they say right off the top that Draw Steel, it's the MCDM role-playing game, Matt Colville and all them. They say right there that it is a tactical fantasy role-playing game. And boy, howdy, is it fucking tactical. So let's see if I can get this. So you have your hero points, you have your surge points, you have different points for different classes. You have, oh god, what else is there? There was like 2 other metacurrencies that you have to keep track of. And like your hero points, it was like, okay, this is all right. Or was it the surge points? One of those feeds the other one. You get surge points from your hero points. You start with like 10 hero points, and your hero points also changes your damage. So your damage goes up and down. Your surge points gives you actions, so you can also change everything else with that, but you got to feed hero points in to get more surges. Oh, there's healing surges as well. I forgot about healing surges. Oh, and action points. I forgot about action points. You got to keep track of the action points. Dude, it was ridiculous. We got about an hour into trying to figure it out, me and a couple of the other guys that were going to play that night, and I said, nope, we're canceling. I can't do this. I thought it might have been fun if we all got together and, you know, learn this game together. But no, it's not one of those. It's one of those that somebody or everybody needs to be, like, from the beginning to the end, sure on how this game works, because there is so much that goes into it. I looked at the regular character sheet that you can print out. It's 5 pages. And like I said, this is like 4th edition. There is no spell page. There's a spot with like the cards, the old cards that you remember from 4th edition. You would fill out all your shit.
Mm-hmm.
My God, there's just so much shit on these character sheets. And I remember Matt Colville saying that he wanted it, that all you had to do was look at the character sheet. If you had a question on how anything worked, just look at the character sheet and it'll tell you how to do it. Not really. Because there's also 3 defenses, but they don't work like they did in 4th edition, where you have an armor class, fortitude, and reflex. Well, there was AC, there was fortitude, will, and reflex.
Yep.
They were not saves, they were defenses, and this works a lot like that, but there's only 3 defenses instead of 4. But not really, because AC is still a thing, but AC is just soaking damage, so it's not really a defense, but it is it is a damage modifier. It got a little ridiculous, and I gotta say, good luck to anybody out there that's going to play this, because this made me think this is the type of game that is made for a VTT. Like, you need some sort of program to help you play this game, because there's so much going on with it. And I don't know, like, I was trying to think of how an actual session would go when you have to remember all these rules. They're not difficult rules to remember. There's just so many of them. That's the problem. I don't mind, if you have some difficult rules, but, if you kept it like minimal. This is just easy rules, but there's like tons of them. And I'm not a big fan so far.
That's fourth edition, all right. Like, it's like every rule is pretty easy to know, but there's like 70 of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
exactly.
And then some games are like, there's just 4 rules, and it's like, and you look at each rule and it's like a paragraph and a half of like description. And you're like, okay, that's a really complicated rule, and so I have to kind of, but like once you've learned one, you know it, right? Like you're like, I know that rule, like backward and forward. Some is just like you just layer over the top of it, and it just they stack up and they stack up, and they're like, this feat does this, and it's like, this is an exception to this rule when that rule is under play, but only with this contingency when that. It's like, oh dude, okay, I guess.
Yeah,
sure.
It was fucking brutal. But yeah, I had to get that off my chest, because we didn't end up playing anything that night, because all of us were like, fuck this. We don't even want to think about role-playing games for a while.
This is the game that's on break. That was the game that you were like, guys, I think I fucked up.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is it's not the same game. No, it's not the same game. No. It's a different game. Same group, though.
But it's the same group, right?
Yep.
Right. And so it's like, you already had, like, that's no. Just disappointing for me that you were like, already like, I don't know about this fucking game. And then you're like, well, let's try something different. And you're like, fuck, not this either. Like, sorry, dude.
I know, I can't win right now. Yeah. It was just another one. It's another game that has come out that is supposed to be, and I've just learned that this term is a thing now in the hobby, in the community, made for campaign games. Because I guess there's not very many out there these days. You got Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons. We have Daggerheart now. Nobody really plays GURPS anymore. Savage Worlds, like I said. Yeah. But there's not a lot out there that people know about that are campaign games. A lot of them are just, they're narrative driven. There's hippie games, there's OSRs, and not made for long form campaigns anymore. So a lot of people are talking about
that. Either episodic, or they're short form campaigns, or one shot campaigns, like, which I guess is kind of similar to an episodic, but episodic is at least stitched together through a common thread. But then some are one shots. I'm looking forward to getting back to our, like, kind of more long form campaign after a spat of intermittent episodic storytelling. Kind of like, let's get back to the, like, main long form campaign. But yeah, sorry to hear that, man. You're like the anti Parker Lewis, right? Matt Hansen can't win.
Yeah. But
that's deep cuts for us, for our Gen X listeners. Like,
yeah, right. If you remember 90s. Parker Lewis can't lose, you are you're old.
Yeah, at least as old as us. So
yeah, at least as old as us. I was happy that everybody that was trying to figure out how this game worked, they all were like, yeah, we heard about this game. We actually were interested in this game, but now none of us are interested in that game. Should have known when they said that the name was going to be Draw Steel. I was like, it doesn't really, the name doesn't really hit very hard.
Yeah, it's, and it's just the thing too, where it's like, you know how I feel about WotC and all of their recent shenanigans with it's not a 6th edition, it's an update. Give us your money. We're releasing
Yeah.
more, starter sets, and like here's this thing, and we're tweaking things, and it's like now we're moving this. It's over here, and we're gonna have a VTT. That's like, well, no, now we're not doing that, and all of that shenanigans. But it is not hyperbole to say that D&D is the greatest role-playing game that the world has ever seen, system-wise.
Hmm.
It is the fucking best, like unequivocally, full stop, like on all metrics that you could pretty much have. There is a reason it is the grand poobah of what everybody plays, and it's because it is better than almost, like, categorically, ecumenically across different types of players. Everyone can enjoy D&D. Like
Well,
so
it's the one
there's
that
my
everybody
piece about, like,
knows. Yeah,
yeah.
it's the one that everybody knows. It's been around the longest.
But
Uh,
it's not good because everyone knows it. Everyone knows it because it's good.
yeah, and it's had more ups and downs than any other game system out there right now. Like
Yeah.
other than I will give, oh no, Shadowrun has always kind of gone on the up.
Yeah, but
Yeah, the only
I'm
one that
just
has ever
saying,
gone
yeah.
like up and down with the fan base, D&D has been the one, and I think they were able to really tighten up on everything. Even the 5.5, there are
Sure.
some stuff in there that I really like. There's some stuff that I really don't like. Like there's some stuff going on right now. A lot of people are talking about the new starter box set that's out. So it's
Hmm.
got 3 adventure books in it. It's got Caves of Chaos, Keep on the Borderlands, and The Wilderness. And the opening to The Wilderness, a lot of people say is really bad for if you're a new DM, if you are nothing but a bunch of new players that have picked up the starter box and said, "Hey, let's try Dungeons and Dragons." The very first box text that you're supposed to read aloud to your players for the wilderness is I have it here. Your adventuring party enters the wilderness. Mysteries await you in this untamed land. Where do you want to go? And that's the whole thing. That's the
to
whole box text.
where something interesting is happening.
So a lot of people are saying there has to be something else in like the rule book that comes with it or something like that. Uh, because that intro, that's just a poor intro. Uh,
Well, it's not poor. It's just not conducive to someone that's going to buy a starter set,
right. Like
right?
I said, this
You
could be somebody that's never even, they might have heard about this game a few times and they were like, they saw it on Stranger Things or something. They're like, this could be cool. But that was the
it's
first
well
thing that they
because
see.
it invites a protracted exchange of teasing out information from the GM. Okay, where do I want to go? Well, what's the wilderness like? Am I aware of anything that like is going to like is of interest? Do I know? Can I do some checks to see if I have some knowledge? It's like that's no way to start a campaign. It's boring,
Yeah.
right? It's like throw players into the cauldron of some sort of conflict, and then maybe open it up a little bit. But it just kind of starts with a wet fart instead of dynamism, which is what you would want. So
Well, it made me think of our, how many times we've talked about like a structured sandbox and, instead of railroading, but you can't give it just a complete sandbox to newbies.
hmm
Otherwise, or, if you don't have at least push them in the right direction, it'll just be boring pretty much.
hmm
And this made me think of it as just like, wow, that is the most sandbox start off I've ever heard. Like there's
it's yeah.
no direction in it at all.
Yeah, you might as well just started the session by saying, "What about it? What about what? I mean, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, where am I? Like,
That's
where
a
do you
good
want to
question. How do
be?
you feel about it?
Where do you
Huh?
want to be?" It's like, dude, I just, I come to you for a fucking story. What are you doing?
Yeah, right. Come on, man. Work with me a little bit here.
Yeah, I made a caricature. What did you do?
Nothing. You bought the box.
I bought the box. Yeah, that was it. I brought the Doritos. It's like, okay.
All right, we got a couple emails here that I want to get to. Matt Lloyd wrote us saying, "Hey boys,
Hey.
I'm wanting to introduce the table to Palladium Rifts, classic / ultimate, not Savage Worlds. Currently, we are
Okay.
playing Dragon Slayer and Fallout under 2 other GMs. I want to use pre-gen characters, but not sure what OCCs to use, and debating on using only humans or not. It's been years since I've last played, so suggestions would be appreciated. I've heard you guys a couple times on the show talk about how you've played Rifts in the past, or at least the Savage Worlds equivalent. The premise is that they are in/near London, Ontario, somewhere between Laszlo and Chi-Town. The town council is sending them to investigate the appearance of an old-style naval ship, USS Eldridge. Yes, trying to put in the Philadelphia experiment and the legends surrounding it. Thanks in advance for anything that you can give. Uh, so whenever I think of riffs, Matt, uh, characters that you should have if you're going to make pre-gens. First of all, you need a glitter boy. You always need a glitter boy.
Yes.
If you're playing riffs, you got to have a glitter boy. Second, I would say a good one would be, let's see, if you want a, oh God, what do they call it? Oh, Dragon Hatchling. Dragon Hatchling is always good. That's another staple. Crazies are just fun, where you get a lot of cool psychic powers to work with, and the player gets to be a fucking complete weirdo. And I can't remember the Captain America class. There's a super soldier juicer. That's it. Thank you. Juicer.
That was what I was gonna say. I was like, yeah, you gotta have a juicer too. Like it's.
Yep, definitely. The juicer. Juicer is like a crazy, except they are more physically strong instead of using psychic powers, and they don't have the craziness about them. But those are like the 4 staples that I think makes riffs. I know in Savage Worlds.
I mean, I would argue too that you need.
Oh, I'm sorry. They added one.
I would
I'm trying to remember what they added in Savage Worlds riffs. There was another class thing that they added in there, but I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I can't remember what the name of the class is, but it's almost like a mechanic of sorts, where he's good at like hacking, troubleshooting. Like he's a skill-based character. So basically, what you do is you fill a few different pillar roles. Rifts is a little less. Rift is a little less demanding on the fact that you might have to fill those roles as much as some other games. But the general synergy of a party comes from having someone that can do mod damage, someone that can do some semblance of magic like especially if it can be AoE or I forget what they call it in. But like a controller or something that like debilitates
they're
enemies.
called leyline walkers or leyline.
There you go.
Yeah, something like that.
Right, and so then you need somebody that can soak up damage and kind of provide frontline defense for the magic user or the psychic or whatever. But then a skill-based character that handles things like tech, that handles things like some semblance of skullduggery. There's some mods of some characters and riffs that can basically kind of get you to a face. That's not really as important. I would posit that a pre-gen probably ought to have like a face skill-based character embedded in it, so that they have some social skills, some negotiating, some fast talking, some intimidation, but then they also have some ability to work with tech or to use stealth to repair things, stuff like that. That character, those 2 elements together, because combat tends to be pretty important in Rifts. That's more like a holistic character. When you kind of have like a face and a skill character together as one character, it kind of supplements the fact that they might not be as combat oriented, especially if you have a glitter boy or a juicer. Like most of your combat is kind of handled there, and then your psychic or your leyline walker or whatever is more likely to be kind of a combination of utility, skill, and combat, and so they're more ecumenical across scenarios. Um, so I would say that Matt, and if I recall, like the dragon hatchling is a race, so you could layer that over the top of any of the other ones. Probably the best way
The
to do
dragon
it.
hatchling is a race and class all roped into one.
Oh yeah, it's like the first edition of D&D where it's like if you're a halfling or
Yeah,
whatever. And so yeah, that kind of stands in. Um, I would say probably either the dragon hatchling or the glitter boy. You probably don't need both, but the
yeah, they're
juicer
both.
is really,
Yeah, those are two that can both do mega damage,
yeah,
and you're uh
it's mega damage, not mod damage. You're right.
well, there's mod damage for like you were talking about because I think they were called rats. Was
Hmm.
the rats were they were also like the tinkerers, engineers, hackers. They
Yeah.
could do mod damage, but the glitter boy, the dragon hatchling, they could do mega damage, which was against tanks and other things like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Like, see, yeah, forgive us for like, it's been a long time since I played classic riffs
Yeah.
or even
Last
really
time I
looked over
looked
the
at
book.
yeah, the last time I looked at Palladium riffs was probably back in your place, back in Kalamazoo,
2001, 2002, somewhere
somewhere
in there,
around there,
probably.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, as far as didn't he have like kind of a sub question in there about like all human characters, or was
Yeah.
that
So he was uh yeah, debating on using only humans or not. Because he also says that it's been years since I've last played, so suggestions would be appreciated. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's
yeah,
ambitious to like go with Palladium riffs if it's been years since you've played. That's like you need some pretty big chops to kind of handle the mechanics of that game. Um, but I don't it probably depends on whether how rare you want the kind of zanier, kind of crazier races to be. If you want them to seem more um unique or more uh bizarre when they do occur, then yeah, use them sparingly and maybe just have all the pre-gens be human. But if you
hmm
want it to seem like a more integrated world, one where all of the melting pot of the different sci-fi cyberpunk aspects of riffs are ingrained and commonplace, then go with a variety, especially because it'll allow players to have to seize onto some of the unique things that um, make the world have a lot of texture and bizarre atmosphere.
yeah.
So it just depends
Uh,
on your goal for the campaign.
the last time I played actual riffs before I played Savage World riffs, which I played quite a bit of, but the one time that I was like really trying to learn Palladium riffs, uh, it was me and two other guys that were playing, and then an older guy, he was probably in his mid 50s while that was running it at the time. Uh, we were all playing humans, and he had an NPC that we met. We were playing, the location was in Tennessee, and we were all human. He wanted us all to be human. But our NPC contact that we had to get in touch with was a dog boy, just to give it that little bit of a flair. And he was a speed sled racer. And since we were in Tennessee, he had a very hard Southern accent. He liked to drink moonshine and drive really fast in this speed sled that he created,
Hmm.
uh, which it gave it really helped us out because all of us, none of us really played in Rifts beforehand, and he was just like, it's the real world, but think of it if all these portals opened up and a bunch of weird shit started happening. And
Yeah.
he did a really good job when we came across our contact and he was just like, he's a dog boy. We were like, okay, this is cool. Now we're starting to get it. But he still acted like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. So it's just like, oh, we get it. He's just still just a Southern guy that likes cars, but he's a dog guy. That's kind of cool. And
It's
that kind of sums up Riffs real well.
yeah, it's I want to say Headhunter. Is that the name of the kind of like tech savvy like cyborg class in Rifts?
It might have been. I
Yeah, I'm
can't
trying to remember
remember.
that. I also neglected. I think there's another class too, um, that can kind of act as he's kind of like a paladin. Um,
Oh, I know
It,
exactly what you're talking about.
he's
God
like a
damn it! I
he's like a Jedi or like a
Yeah,
paladin
because they
kind
have
of
the
like,
burning sword.
and so yeah, he can be kind of like it's good to introduce that pre-gen because what it does is it has a tendency to kind of anchor the characters morally. Um, Cyber Knight, is that right?
Cyber Knight. That's exactly it. That's it.
Okay, yeah. Um, so I would suggest having that in there too because he kind of acts as a more of a tanky um moral code, especially if your glitter boy is going to be a glitter boy pilot, um, like is going to be more because there's if I remember there's like a glitter boy pilot, but then isn't there like another type of glitter boy that's not as Gundam-y, but maybe I'm misremembering that.
No, the glitter boy is like the glitter boy is that certain type of armor.
Yeah, but I thought there was two types of armor. I might be wrong about that, but anyway,
Mm-mm.
so yeah, I would say, yeah, either I would say either a leyline walker or a techno wizard, possibly even like a what's the other one? The interdimensional traveler is kind of like similar. Um, fuck, what's it called? I keep on wanting to say shifter, but that's a race from fourth edition D&D. Anyway, so one of those three should take up one spot, almost the controller spot, like for D&D. Then you probably want the tech savvy character that, if I'm remembering right, is called a headhunter, but I could be wrong. Maybe infuse him with a little bit of social skills. Then you need a juicer for sure, and
Mm-hmm.
then probably either a glitter boy pilot or a cyber knight. So that would fill kind of the tank role. I would try to hit each of those beats at least a little bit because then you get a variety. Like if you go cyber knight, glitter boy, juicer for three of them, those are kind of similar, and then you only have like kind
Mm.
of one slot left for um the others. I mean, the dragon hatchling is certainly adds a little bit of weirdness. So yeah, a dragon hatchling or a dog boy um, would be good too. But I would say that would be if you have a fifth character. If you're having five
Mm.
pre-gens instead of four, then I would go with one of those just for zaniness. But it's probably the first one you would cut out if you're only doing four characters. Then I would say probably skip the dragon hatchling, or you could substitute it for the more controllery role, depending on the sensibilities of your characters, your players. If your players don't have much interest in playing psionic types, controller, like, mind melder kind of things, then maybe just take that role and turn it into a dragon hatchling because it
Mm.
kind of gets at some of the same stuff, but still allows them to be kind of like, burly and fearsome. Um, so yeah, I would say that would round out your 4 or 5 member party, depending on what your goals for your campaign are.
That's a good one to go with. I like that. It's a good idea. Next up, we got another email. Actually, hold on. I oh, I got to bitch about Draw Steel a little bit more. One thing just came to my mind,
We're still not done with this. Okay.
dude, because they're pretty much saying it's mandatory XP. And the way that
What
you
does that
level
even mean?
up is you need so you need, what is it? It's like uh six oh god, what do they call them? Either way, whenever you go into battle and you win, like victory points, pretty much. They didn't call them victory points, but they're kind of like that. Maybe they were victory points. Either way, they say that you should have, I think it's like 6 to 10 victory points to level up. And this is just every time that you win a battle, you get a victory point. And we're talking about fourth edition battles. So these things are like 2 to 3 hours, each, and
Okay.
then mix whatever you want in there. Uh, the way that, and I think it does. Right now they have Draw Steel only goes to level 10, but either way, uh, yeah, it's like he was talking about. It's like anywhere from 6 to 8 sessions before you can level up. It's just like, oh, that's a long time, man. And first of all,
No, it's not.
I
That's
don't.
not
Yes, it is.
long.
That is a long time.
6 to 8 sessions? No,
Yeah,
no, it is not.
that's a long time. It's like
No. Nope.
8 is like double what it should be.
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
8 is normal. 8 to
No, it's not.
10, I would say.
No way. Shit's
Yes way.
fucking weak.
You're gonna be really disappointed when we get back to the D&D campaign.
Shit's weak. Okay. This one comes from Luke, who is a new listener as well.
Luke,
Uh,
I am
who-
your father.
Luke writes, "Hey guys,
Hey,
Rookyish GM here. I wanted to know if you guys have any advice for a specific kind of writer's block when you just don't click with one of your player characters, one of your players' characters. One of my players recently switched to a new character, and I'm just struggling with getting invested and working with it. I'm not even that. It's not even that they're a complete joke character or even thematically out of place. It's just that their backstory was way too short and simple, and what's there feels and what's there feels more like a caricature than a character. I tried probing the player with some personal history questions or inspirations, but they gave very generic answers that weren't really helpful. I'd also like to note that all the players are TTRPG veterans and were in real life friends. The player in question previous character was great during role playing. I want to help guide and flesh out this character, but I don't have a lot to work with, nor the enthusiasm, if I'm being brutally honest. So my question is, how do you approach this without just hijacking the character? Any tips or anecdotes?
yeah, that is a tough conundrum because you don't want to, as he says, hijack the character.
Mm-hmm.
But I would posit that there's probably some sort of middle ground here where you can, in a light way, kind of not hijack the character. That would imply that you're kind of seizing control of the character and infusing a bunch of shit that you think ought to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But try lobbing a couple softballs toward the player throughout the course of play. Sometimes players aren't that interested in doing the legwork of creating a character. And I get it. You know, if you're not a writer, you're not into storytelling or whatever, like it just feels like fucking homework. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, like can we just play? Like I want to just play. So sometimes what you can do is you can kind of toss things at the player throughout the course of the game that if they don't bat the ping pong ball back across the table at you, no big deal. But you're just kind of feeling out the fence to see what are some sort of things that might be interesting to them. Because for some players, it might feel like work to come up with character dynamics, to come up with motivations, to come up with backstories, to come up with secrets, to come up with attachments, to come up. It just feels like work, and it's like I get it. You're not here for a fucking homework assignment on like how to create a fleshed out character or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're here for some fun, and so try tossing a few things at the player. Basically, what you're doing there is you're doing the brainstorming to kind of plant a seed of something that might be fruitful to them. Toss it out, toss a few things out, see if there's something that they latch onto, and if so, can you water that plant a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty good tactic because it spares them the legwork of having to try to come up with some sort of character work thing. Um, you got to acknowledge that some players aren't into role playing games because of the acting, the character, the backstory. They they just like the like it's more like playing a video game for them,
Yeah,
right?
they
Where
like the clicky clack of the dice, and they like the choices that they get to make.
yeah, and so but if you can figure out ways where maybe those choices seem more impactful, more meaningful, and the real key is heroic. If you can frame something that makes the things that they're doing in the game in a practical actionable way seem more heroic based on just a minor thing, uh, from my experience, players tend to latch onto that. They don't want to have to be imaginative or creative. They want to just kind of do.
Hmm.
And you have to embrace some players like that sometimes, because otherwise you might just feel like they're disengaged. And over a long arc, they might become disengaged if you don't give them something to chew on. But try doing a little bit of the work to throw a few things at the player that would um, give their character a little bit more depth, and just suggest them at moments in the plot where they seem relevant. I know this is kind of like, I know this is being kind of abstract, and I don't mean it to be, but it's difficult to kind of illustrate unless you're in the throes of the game.
Hmm.
But I'm just saying that, like, you can inject a few things into the the narrative that, if the player doesn't latch onto them, they it's no consequence, right? But if they do, then you can continue to kind of like foster it. And I'll give you, since I have them kind of on the top of my head here, uh, a few character tricks that might be useful. So, in writing, there's a few ways in which you kind of establish that a character, um, through very economic space on the page, you can give them some sort of depth. And I think some of them might work for tossing things out to a player that might be fruitful here. But I'm going to pause and see if Matt has any additional thoughts that might bolster on what the back of I'm saying.
I'm with you on the kind of, you know, throw some shit out there and see what sticks with the player.
Hmm.
But I do it in a way that if the this one player doesn't seem to have kind of like really grab onto anything right away, or if they do seem to be kind of just like, I'm not really into the whole backstory thing. What I'll do is I'll throw the shit at the other players, and
Hmm.
they'll usually eat it up. And sometimes that other player that wasn't into it at first sees these other guys getting into it, so he kind of starts saying, "Oh, well, I blah 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 blah," starts throwing out some backstory stuff or starts creating it as well. Not always. Sometimes they stay completely quiet until something exciting shows up. But I have found that it works more often than not if I bounce some stuff off other players that that person that's not either they might be new or they're just not used to it, or like David said, they're not everybody's a fucking writer, man. But as soon as they get some ideas from the other players, that sometimes they'll start going into it a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good insight, which is that often character development at the genesis comes from introspection into the
Mm.
character's history and backstory. But you can back end it by just forging dynamics. If you forge a dynamic with another character, either a fellow PC or an NPC, then that gives the character some depth. Maybe they don't have much backstory, they don't have much history, they don't have any dark secrets or whatever. But suddenly another character is a love interest, or another character is a mentor, or a comrade in arms, or a brother figure. These are dynamics that you're fostering, and they, even if they're even if you come up with them kind of on the fly, you can kind of fill in some backstory or whatever. If the character's backstory is vague, then allow them the kind of freedom and lean on another player that might be eager to have maybe they've done a lot of character backstory work, but they don't have anything that's active and alive as the game takes place, right? Nothing that's active and alive. Everything is in their history, everything is in their past. But by infusing something with the other characters and roping them in, then it becomes uh, a dynamic thing, a thing that is like a thing moving forward. Think about um, the last time you had a good laugh with a friend. about something that ended up becoming an inside joke with you.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt and I have been friends tons of years, so we have all kinds of things like this that every now and again we just kind of touch that button, and we both just kind of takes us back to like when that was a thing that started, and we have a good laugh about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, inside jokes, bonds, shared interests. These are living things in the character, and they can often feel to players that are not so keen on the acting backstory character depth. They can feel more interesting because precisely because they're living alive and they're constantly evolving. So that's a really good thing that I probably didn't really think of. Which I mean, I thought of it, but it's no. But so here are some, I guess, for lack of a better word, character tricks that you can try to throw out to your character or to your player to see if they might latch onto them. So the first of which is what is typically called doubling or some sort of character contradiction. Think of the things that the character is, and then try to think of ways in which they're an exception to that, right? Maybe throw out the idea, put something in front of the character. If they're like a burly kind of stoic barbarian, put something in front of the character that doesn't go with that. Put some sort of, maybe they have an affinity for rabbits. Maybe they really love kind of tender-hearted poetry. Maybe instead of like drinking rot gut fucking grog, they have a sensibility about fine brandies or
Mm-hmm.
something. That's really interesting when it's paired with something that doesn't go. So try to think of what the stereotypical thing is, and then just kind of toss out a thing that might seem like it would be something that the character could latch onto. The character approaches the bar and he slaps his hand down and he says, "I order a drink." And you say, your first inclination is to think that, many of people from your tribe gravitate toward, mead and strong ales, but a glistening of a old dusty bottle on the top shelf of the behind the bar catches your eye. This syrupy golden liquid that for some reason makes your mouth salivate. Right? You just toss that out there and see if they go, "Huh, yeah, what is that?" And then you kind
Yeah.
of like as you taste it for the first time, like your taste buds come alive, and then suddenly they have this passion for like apricot brandy or some weird fucking thing. But then if they just go like, "No, I just order a rot gut mead. That's like how I roll. This is my character." Then it reaffirms maybe that they're more a typical version. But you can always just kind of inject things in there like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I like the way you think, because that makes me think of, because I was trying to think of a way to put it, and I think that really does well when I was trying to think.
mhm.
Don't think of you trying to fix the character or the player, to make their character a little bit more lively. Think of the way that David just said. It's more of like challenging them, giving them a challenge to kind of fill it in through play, I guess
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, and so allow them to opt in, and then if you don't, it's no big deal. If it's just a bit of sensory detail, if they don't latch onto it. Um, Another way to do this is to try to think of ways in which you can inquire to the player whether they have some expertise or deep knowledge of something really fucking niche, something that wouldn't be reflected on their character sheet, but maybe they know a lot about cartography. Maybe
Mm,
they know a lot about um, uh, gardening or something. And if you could even do this pairing it with the previous tactic, which is maybe they're a dwarf, so they come from like a you know rocky under whatever, but maybe they have a passion and deep knowledge of gardening, which is
yeah.
kind of a weird thing, but kind of cool. Like you're like, oh,
Hmm.
this is like dwarf. Maybe he gardens precisely because he wants to grow his own grapes for wine, or he wants to grow his own barley to make, mm, you know, to make ale or something like that. Uh, Maybe he's a beekeeper so that he can make his own mead. Then you're getting to kind of like binding things together where it's like he has expertise and then he has this weird kind of thing that's almost contradictory to his character, but it seems like a continuous through thread, right? And this is how you begin to start having characters that seem alive. Um, Another one is to try to think of a character's flaw that would in some way be a detriment to them. So this can either be a tragic flaw or what they would typically call the competence paradox. I think the competence paradox is more interesting, and that's when a character's um, one of the character's biggest strengths becomes a detriment to them sometimes, right? Maybe they're very disciplined and regimented, or they're incredibly loyal. Um, Try to think of the circumstances under which something that is a strong conviction or an area of high competency or virtue could be a detriment, and put scenarios in front of a character that forces them to be consistent with a sensibility they have. And if you do that, even on a micro level, small role playing scenes, even travel montages, interactions with other PCs, that they have a competency in something, but that competency can be their downfall. And if you don't read, I would just kind of Wikipedia some Shakespeare characters, because Shakespeare, I know I'm always on a jag about like how brilliant fucking Shakespeare is and everything on the show, but like, and Shakespeare is a fucking master at this.
Mhm.
The characters all have strong convictions, and they ultimately, in his tragedies, they lead to their downfall. And this is there's a name for it in Greek or Latin. It's like Hamorit, Hamaritia, Hamarit, something like that. But it just means that it ultimately becomes their undoing. And you don't need to go that far into like Shakespearean tragedy, but try to think of some ways in which things that are good about a character or that seem like virtues can create complications for them. And it's easy enough to embed into the character's kind of micro role playing interactions that they might latch onto it and just go like, oh yeah, like if a character is consistent in some way, that their consistency across personality types, which is almost an inverse of the contradiction, right? It's like
Mhm.
they're consistent across certain things, and that has benefits and it has downfalls. And I mean, if I use myself as an example, like, and perhaps Matt can attest to this or not, um, I'm a very direct person. I'm very direct, and that comes off as very blunt and sometimes even rude. But I like to think that the people have that count themselves close to me also know that that directness and that bluntness leaves me being very honest with them all the time, and so it breeds trust. And so the people that are close to me probably trust my opinion on stuff, and because they know when the chip, like, under no circumstances will I mince words about shit. And so it's a detriment to me sometimes, but
Yeah, and it's a big boon to us in social situations. Trust me, we look
and,
real good.
and so it's like, yeah, like you know, if you're Matt knows that if he's in a social situation and somebody's being a loudmouth asshole, like, I'll be the guy to say something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll also be the guy that probably says something that might be slightly embarrassing in a more delicate social situation, but you take the good and you take the bad, right?
Mhm.
And if you care about somebody, then you just kind of go like, yeah, I wouldn't change that about them, because if I change the situations where maybe it's a little awkward, I also change the situations where it's a big benefit to me. And so these sort of things make characters feel alive. Anything to piggyback on that there, Matt?
No, I don't think so. You're pretty much hitting all the same points that I would, uh, with a different way of saying it, which is good. But no, you're hitting everything.
It's okay. I'm gonna throw you for a loop on this one, because I think this one is a not often used character tactic that is a lot of fun and is interesting, and it's called the wrong memory. Try to see if the player is up for having a memory about something that happened in their past that is incorrect,
Oh.
and see what that does to their character. Maybe they believe that they grew up in a certain place, or maybe they believe that um, a certain character in their past was uh, gentle to them, or ushered them into adventuring, and they were a kind and thoughtful mentor. But just make the player aware and you be aware that that is not true, and then you can start to brainstorm some ideas as to how it could come out and what will be the implications to the character to learn that this thing that they thought was true is not true. Do they protect that? Do they hold on to it? Do they does it shape who they are moving forward? It's really easy to do by just saying you think this thing. It might be a little more difficult to integrate into the kind of uh, rudimentary into the routine play,
Mm.
uh, but it's easy enough to do, and I think it's pretty good. Um,
I like that one. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever thought of that.
yeah, I think um, it's a simple thing to do. Um, another way to do another way to think about it is um, try to ask the player what they think of things more frequently than you otherwise would be inclined to to um to ask them. And what this does is it kind of sets up what I call or actually what writers call the indirect self-portrait. So sometimes our flaws are not evident to us. Often they're not evident to us. And so people have a tendency to project their flaws onto others. And so it's like that adage, if you're the kind of person, the kind of people that are always worried that someone is trying to steal from them are probably more likely to be the kind of people that are going to steal something from you.
Mm.
They have a distrust of others because of their own hangups. And so you can see how your player characterizes NPCs and other PCs, and then give them a little pushback or a challenge, throw down the gauntlet in some way to examine whether they have these flaws as well. And this can kind of just create some interesting, get the wheels turning as to whether they how they see their character and how the character sees themselves. And again, it can happen kind of in real time, so it's not this long dead in the past history that is informing their current actions. It's something that is a echo of that, but is still living and active in the character's psyche.
Ooh, I like that.
Similarly, yeah, I do too. Similarly, don't ignore a character's. We have a tendency, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, that if a character is not a cleric, a character is not a paladin, we kind of ignore their relationship to spirituality. It doesn't necessarily need to be a relationship to the gods or whatever, but do they have any superstitions? Do they
Hmm.
believe in different forces at play? Do they pray to the gods, and under what circumstances do they do that? Try just poking at the edges of that a little bit and um, see if the player might latch on to it, even if they're not a, say, divinely inspired character. Most of the characters in the or most of the characters in any fantasy world are going to feel the influence of the gods or be superstitious or whatever to some regard, and it might just be something as simple as um, you know, having an aversion to black cats or something like
Hmm.
that. I mean, that can just add a little bit layer of a depth, and it often gets ignored if the character isn't particularly spiritual in their character sheet, divine, whatever. Um, but they're you know praying to the gods or asking for favor or just having some sort of uh, quirky thing about them that makes them a little more superstitious, even like maybe like borderline on like some sort of OCD. They have to cross themselves when they go through an open doorway, or they, you know, have to tie their shoes in a certain way. It could be some sort of superstition that would add a layer of depth to the
Hmm.
character.
I Well, I think that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. For all of you out there, if you want to write in with a question, much like Luke and Matt did today, you can send it to insidethegmstudio@gmail.com. Let us know. What do you want to know? Well, let us know what you want to know, and we will do our best to give you our answers to that question. It's our opinions, not really answers. You get it. You know. Or you can come on over, watch twitch.tv/InsideTheGMStudio or youtube.com/InsideTheGMStudio. You can watch us live and talk in the chat. Ask us questions in there, usually every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come on in. Go in there. Tell us that we're doing great. Tell us that we're doing shit. Tell us what we can do better. But for this week, for Inside the GM Studio, I have been your host, Matt.
And I am David.
Good night.